Sound పెట్టుకో ఆన్ చేసుకో. సౌండ్ ఆన్ చేసి
జూర్ సౌండ్
ఓకే సౌండ్ పెట్టండి ఇంకా అన్నీ కాదు మైక్ ఆన్ చేసి అంతేనే.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll start. Now, after this meeting gets over, I want all the Pune campus students, both the DNA and then the fingerprint, to stay back. All others after the meeting can leave, except for these two. PG diploma allotted Pune campus and fingerprint. DNA and fingerprint wala Pune ka today there reh jana after the meeting. After the class gets over, they need to stay back. All others after the class can leave. Should we start now?
Yes, ma'am.
So last previous classes we tried to discuss under the Indian Penal Code the crimes against the property, like robbery, how robbery is an aggravated form of extortion or theft, and then what is theft, what is extortion, and then what is dacoity. Dacoity we said is also aggravated form of robbery and all. So इतना detail आपको ये particular chapter में we need not go into details, but all that we need to know is under IPC there are different categories of crimes, separate under separate chapters, one dealing with the property offences, the other one dealing with the bodily offences. This much you need to know. Since some sections are relevant and important, so we'll discuss those many sections. The penal provisions are the punishment sections. It's only the quantum of punishment and then how serious is the punishment, only that much is there. But then as far as the definition classes are concerned, we'll restrict ourselves to only few sections. But before that, we'll also have a kind of a overall picture as we have done for robbery and other property offences. Similar to that, offences against the body also we'll try to summarize, have a view of the entire gamut of sections. But then let us not go into dwell deep into these sections, but nevertheless we'll try to again group these sections under different categories and try to understand the overall picture of the offences. Now we know that the offences after birth, that is culpable homicide, murder, are the ones we are going to put. That is sections, old sections 299 to 311 under IPC. But if somebody is keen that they want to know the Naya Kanun ke hisab se kaun sa section hai, they are dealt in chapter 6. Chapter 6, heading being of offences affecting the human body, of offences affecting life. 100 is the new Kanun mein section 100. But in old Kanun IPC it was 299. So it says culpable homicide, and it includes 299 to 311, that is culpable homicide, murder. And then the second category in that, offences against children in the womb and children of tender age. So they are trying to divide before birth, after birth, prior to the birth. So that way if you want to divide, you can say offences after birth include culpable homicide, murder. And similarly, offences against children who are not yet born, that means they are still in the womb of the mother. So those sections are different again. So they are also against life, but then life has not yet formed because life has not come out of the womb of the mother. So 312 to 318 are those sections. Now we also can categorize the offences, especially the bodily offences. Third category we can say offences against the body not resulting in death. That means there is offense against the body, but that has not resulted in the death of the person, individual. So we can include under that group hurt, grievous hurt, and then hurt with aggravated forms. So the sections ranging from 319 to 338. That means hurt, grievous hurt, and then aggravated form of both hurt and grievous hurt. They are dealt in sections ranging from 319 to 338. So they are under group 3. And group 4 are those offences. They talk about the offences against liberty of movement, that is wrongful restraint, wrongful confinement, and their aggravated forms. So category 4 are dealing with the liberty. Liberty with respect to movement. So there is a restraint, wrongful restraint and wrongful confinement, and in their aggravated forms are also dealt under sections 339 and then 348. Now this is group 4, and when it comes to group 5, using violence against the body without hurt. Using violence against the body without hurt. So assault, battery kind of offences are included under this category. The sections that deal with these kind of offences are listed under 349 to 358 sections. Now the sixth category is against the liberty of action. Offences against the liberty of action. So the sections that deal with this kind of offences are listed under 359 to 374. Now the last one is offences exclusively dealing with the sex. So that means sexual offences. So they are from 375 to 377. So this is a overall gamut of all the sections that deal with the life, that means human body and all. So the first category we said they pertain to the afterbirth, that is we can put only this culpable homicide and murder in this category. Then next we said that this is before birth, that means still the child is inside the womb of the mother, and then if somebody tries to kill, then what kind of punishment will be there and which sections are going to deal with such offences is given. And the sections which deal with this kind of an offence are listed as 312 to 318. And there are again the third category, as I said, the offences against body not resulting in death. So the other first category we said there is a death. Whether it be after birth or before birth, we said it results in death. The third category says body not resulting in death, but then some form of an injury, hurt. So in that category, hurt and grievous hurt are dealt with, and their aggravated forms. So hurt and grievous hurt and in their aggravated form. Like we have studied theft and extortion, and then robbery, we said it is an aggravated form of theft, and we said dacoity is aggravated form of robbery. Like that, there are also aggravated forms of hurt and grievous hurt. Then the fourth category deals with the liberty of movement. That is, somebody is restrained wrongfully, somebody movement is restricted, they have been confined wrongfully. So such type of offences which talk about the liberty of movement of an individual are listed under 339 to 348. Now there is again fifth category, using violence against the body without hurt, without hurting, only just trying to give some gestures, you are about to attack. So that kind of, you have not yet attacked, but then you are giving enough gestures that you are about to attack, and that creates a kind of a fear in the mind of the person who is going to be attacked. So under this particular category we can include assault, battery, these kind of things we can include. The sections that range in this category include 349 to 358. Now there is again the sixth category, we say it talks about the liberty of action. Now we include 359 to 374 under this particular category, and the last category is the one which exclusively deal with the sexual offences. Now in Naya Kanun, so all offences relating to women and children, they are given top priority, and that is how they come in the chapters first. So that is the only difference. Otherwise, as far as the content, I keep on saying this, as far as the content of the section is concerned, more or less in old and new versions it remains the same. Now one by one we will try to understand. Now we say the gravest of all the offences against a human being, if you can say, is homicide. That is the gravest kind of an offense that can happen against the human body. Now, if we have to literally see the meaning of homicide, we all know side means CIDE, side means killing somebody. And homi means it relates to the human being. So, if one human being kills the another human being, then that is generally called as homicide. So, there is also another concept, can somebody kill himself? If one kills himself, then we know that it is suicide, isn't it? One can also kill himself. In that case, sui means self, oneself. So, suicide is one killing himself. Now, probably the suicide is the only offence where perpetration of which is not punishable. So, where is the punishment there? When the life is gone, when the person is dead and gone, there is no question of punishment for her. So, that is the reason probably they say that suicide is the only offence where the person perpetrates and he is successful in doing that, but yet it is the sacrifice of the life, so there is no punishment. So, it is not punishable. But an abetment to suicide is punishable again, and attempt to commit suicide is also one of the worst things that can happen. You have attempted, you have failed, but then for that there is a punishment. But then if you have successfully completed even that, there also you are no more there on this earth, and only your mortal remains be available. But then there also there is this thing. But then attempt, if somebody survives, that is the worst thing that can happen to a failure attempt on the part of the person who is committing suicide. Because not only you have the trauma and agony of that, but top of it you are also punishable under the penal section. So this is the only exception we can say. Battery. Admit. Uchar admit later ting anyway, this is with regard to the suicide and all and homicide. And abetment and attempt to suicide, as I said, are punishable under 305, 306, 309. So these are all some of the these are some of the sections, which deal under this, which are dealt under these particular sections. Now, we know that causing death of human being by another human being, we said it's homicide. The Indian Penal Code, we know that there are definition classes, general explanations. We know what is life and what is death. They have been defined under sections 45, 46. Now, when you have to, every homicide is not criminal. That we need to understand. Just because there is a homicide, one person killing the other person, you cannot just say that all homicides are criminal and they need to be punished. It's not that. So, you need to classify that. What is the classification? So, one classification says that all homicides can be again divided into two categories. One is lawful homicide, the other one is unlawful homicide. So, under lawful also there are again further classification, lawful which are justifiable, lawful which are excusable. So, law defines clearly all this. And unlawful, if you try to take the homicide under the category of unlawful, then you have the culpable homicide and murder under that. So, what is justifiable homicide? If you try to understand, justifiable homicides are a species of lawful homicide, because we said lawful homicides again are divided into justifiable and excusable. So, what do we understand by justifiable homicides? They are again, as I said, no species of lawful homicides, and they are dealt within the code of killing another person by person when the doer does it under mistake. So, these are general exceptions, somebody does anything under mistake of fact, which are dealt in 76 to 79 exceptions. So, anything which is done in mistake is excusable always. So, that is a justifiable homicide. Now, the second thing is done to avoid a greater danger without any intention to cause harm and in good faith. So if these mens rea related items like good faith, and you are trying to, there is a smaller danger, bigger danger, then in order to avert a greater danger, you can always resort to a lower danger. That is also sanctioned under given under the privilege is given under the law. So justifiable homicide. Now somebody, if you are in an apprehension that somebody is going to attack you, so you are not going to keep quiet. If somebody is attacking you with an axe or a knife or some deadly weapon, you will not keep quiet. You will also have your own defense to offer, isn't it? So that kind of an offense, that kind of a defense is called in law right to private defense. So all human beings are vested with this, and law also gives this particular sanction that when somebody is trying to attack you, you have always your right to private defense. So anything which is done in exercise of right of private defense, even if it amounts to death, causing death to other person, that is quite justifiable. And when it comes to excusable homicides, what are those? Now we know that any minor, if he does something including death also, because the consequences of his own actions he is not aware, he is unaware. So that is of course excusable under law. And similarly, any act done by, say, insanity, on account of insanity, is excusable again. So anything which is done in good faith is excusable again. And then somebody is enumerated condition, drunkenness, if he does something, then that is also excusable. Now with all these things, we can know that the excusable homicides, the law itself has, under general exceptions, has given lot of exceptions in that, and we call them as excusable homicides. Now with this backdrop, let us try to understand in detail, because culpable homicide and then our murder, these two are very important kind of sections that one has to understand, because they are important for the reason that there is a lot of confusion in understanding these two, because there is a very thin line of demarcation between the culpable homicide and then the murder. Now let us try to understand these sections one by one, and as I said, to understand and properly analyze a particular section, we have to take the help of the illustrations that are given, and in case if there is some explanation, you also have to, along with the section, you need to read these explanations also to better comprehend that particular section. So coming to the culpable homicide kind of a thing, in old version of the IPC, it is given a section number as 299, and then when it comes to the new law, it is under 100. 100 is the section which deals with the culpable homicide. Now what is this section all about? Whoever causes death, that means anybody causes death, that means it should result in death by doing. What is the action? That means we know that each crime has got actus reus and then mens rea. So you have to look into the section, which portion of the section is dealing with the actus reus, and similarly which portion of the section deals with the mens rea. So only when these two elements are there in a particular act, such act can alone be called or construed as a crime. So we need to understand, similarly for culpable homicide, what are those ingredients. So the section in one reading, it says that whoever causes death by doing an act with the intention of causing death. See that. So mens rea is also given here. What is the mens rea? Intention of causing death. That is one requirement. The other requirement in the section is, or with the intention of causing such bodily injury. If not death, at least if that particular act is done with an intention causing bodily injury. What kind of bodily injury? This is little serious kind of a bodily. What is that? As is likely to cause death, isn't it? So death or maybe some body injury that is likely, the possibility, likely, the word, when I use word likely, there is possibility, probability that that injury may ultimately take away the life of the person. That is also implied there. Or with the knowledge. So here this is the section where the offender should have both intention as well as the knowledge. So what is the knowledge he will have? The knowledge that he is likely by such act to cause death. He knows for sure that if I do this particular act, this is going to be the consequence. What is the consequence which he is intending to create in the person, in the victim? He wants death of that person. There is a strong intention for him that if I do this particular act, that should either result in death, instant death of the person, or else it should create such an injury in him that if that injury is likely, there is a high probability, likeliness that this injury may take away the life of the person. So for these two things, he has both knowledge and then intention. So, or with knowledge that he is likely by such act to cause the death, commits the offense of culpable homicide. So this is culpable homicide. Now, so what are the ingredients? Later on we will try to look at the ingredients, or else we can straight away talk about it. Now, what are all the ingredients? First ingredient, it says the accused must commit an act. That means there must be an actus reus. So the section, if you see, it starts with that only. Whoever causes death by doing an act. That's what it precisely says. So there is an act. Actus reus, because he is committing, his action is towards killing the person, isn't it? Now, first one is that. What is the second ingredient? The act must cause the death of a human being as defined in 46. So, death we have understood, life we have understood. Now, on account of the act of the person, the other person who is being acted upon, the subject, that should result in the death of that person. There must be an act. The consequence of the act must be the resultant must be death of the person. Now, number 3 ingredient is the accused should commit that act. So, while committing that act, what is that? What is the mens rea he has got? He has got the mens rea that with intention of causing death, he has a strong desire. We have already talked about intention, knowledge, negligence, all that we have, and shades of mens rea, we have talked about all that. So, what is the shade of degree of mens rea here? With the intention of causing death. So, he has got a strong desire of killing that person, causing the death of the person. So, he develops that kind of a mens rea, very strong mens rea and then intention. Now, the other point is, ingredient is, with the intention of causing such a bodily injury as is likely to cause death. So, if not death, at least some serious, very serious injury, bodily injury, so that ultimately that injury may lead to the death of the person. First one is anyway causing death. If that doesn't happen, at least such an injury which is likely to result in the death of the person. The other last one is with the knowledge that he is likely by his act to cause. He has a thorough knowledge. He knows the consequences. What are the consequences? See, when I am using a pistol or when I am using a very sharp-edged weapon, I am very sure if I attack with this weapon the other person, it definitely will, and that too, if I am aiming a vital organ like heart or the head, so that will definitely result in death. Number one, if not death, at least because these are vital organs which are essential for the working of the person, which make the person alive. Then when I am attacking the vital organs, definitely that will, if not immediate, but it will likely to cause death. So this is one thing. So I have knowledge and both intention. So that's what you need to understand. A guilty act should be there accompanying the guilty mind. That's what we understand by the crime. Now, the act may be of any kind. What is the kind of act that is required? Case to case, fact to fact, it will differ. Now, then we have to understand act also includes omission. Act includes omission, and act means series of act also we need to understand. Now, and the act must be caused with a guilty intention, isn't it? Now, let us try to understand is this subjective or objective? When that question comes, then accused, let us say an accused was carrying some stolen items in a luggage part of his car. Now he was stopped by a traffic constable. See, there is some suspicion, so there is a traffic constable, and now on grounds of suspicion, so this constable is asking him to stop. But then what is this man doing? What is the accused doing? And so was asked to stop the car near the pavement, thinking that it is a routine checkup regarding license, etc. He slowed, but suddenly changed his mind and began to speed away. So first, initially, when the traffic police asked him to stop, he says it's a मामूली वो license है नहीं है, renewal हुआ नहीं हुआ, यही this is a routine checkup बोल के, that was his thinking initially. So he tries to slow it down, but suddenly he changes his mind, and then maybe he is, because he is carrying some stolen luggage, he is guilty minded. So what he thinks is, what if my theft is known, or if he comes to know about my stolen property, then let me not slow down now, I'll change my mind, I'll flood away from the scene. So suddenly he changes his mind, and then he tries to speed it up. So what happens? Now the constable also, they show sometimes heroic deeds. So what does that constable does? Constable jumped onto the side footboard and was able to secure only one of his foot over it. So he tries to put both the head, because it's the vehicle is going in a high speed. At the best, he can only put one of his feet over that footboard, and then in the process he tried to cling to the footboard, because he should have some grip, isn't it? So he is trying to cling to the footboard. So in his effort to shake off the constable, the accused, what he does, he increases the speed again and again. He goes on increasing the speed, because the constable is also not fully balanced, because he could only have only one of the foot out of 2 feet. He has only one foot rested on the footboard. Now he is also, his balance is also not there, and that too he is also, when the accused knows that he is by hook or crook he wants to catch me up, so he is trying his level best to land into my car, jump into my car. So how can I avoid that? So he goes on increasing the speed. Now suddenly it so happens that the constable, he will fall down, and so there was another, because it's a traffic road, so there is another vehicle coming on the opposite side perhaps, and then this person comes under the wheels of that other vehicle and he dies. Now it is one of the cases, actual cases reported during British time. So House of Lords, they held that the person was, that person means the accused was guilty of murder. Now intention is to be viewed objectively. That's more, I mean, whether it is subjective or not, I mean, his intention was not to kill that other person. I mean, the very act, that means, why should he run away? He has done one wrong, that is, he is in possession of stolen property. Now, why should he speed up the thing? He could have surrendered. Then that very intention, at times, it is to be seen very objectively. Now, intention to cause death. What is the mental elements required here in 299? So we have said that in the definition itself there are 2 elements, intention and knowledge, isn't it? The intention refers to either death itself or bodily injury. What is that? What is the intended purpose? So the intention is to cause death, given a choice. Now that is not happening. Let us say, what is plan B? Plan B is at least to injure him to such an extent that ultimately that bodily injury will reflect into death. It is so grave that ultimately he may die, isn't it? The injury is which is likely to cause death. In every culpable homicide, the actus reus must be to cause death. We have to understand what is the actus reus. It is by act we have to cause the death of the person. So then there are a couple of cases. We need not bother about those cases anyway, just to understand that they have given. Now, so this is all about the culpable homicide. Culpable homicide is where the person, there is an act, that is actus reus is there. Now there is an intention, because the intention is either to cause death, or at the best, if not death, if that misses, at least such a bodily offense which is likely to result in death. So these two are there, and then the person who does this, the accused, also have the knowledge. That means if I use this particular sharp weapon, then the consequences are very sure. That means I am damn sure that the person is going to die. So the knowledge of the act, the consequences of the act, namely the knowledge, is also with him. So this is about the culpable homicide. Am I clear about culpable homicide? ठीक है, ठीक है. Then we will move on to the other thing, that is as per old IPC, that is 300 murder. Then as per new law it is 101. So 299, 300 old version, culpable homicide and murder, and as per new act it is I think 100 and 101, culpable homicide and murder. Now if you try to read the murder, now in one reading you may not understand same wording, here also intention, there also intention, here also knowledge, there also knowledge. What is the big difference? Now what we have to understand is, it is the degree of mens rea that only differentiate the culpable homicide from murder. What is the degree, whether it is greatest, intention is greatest and knowledge is greatest to the maximum degree, or it is at the minimum degree, whether there is certainty of death or only likelihood of death, and all. Only these parameters make the culpable homicide different from the murder. So let us try to understand. There are a lot of clauses in this, and lot of exceptions are there, and explanations are also there. We need to understand. So if we can just 299, 300 will deal in elaboration. The other things you need not just bother, when there are other chapter also, or maybe units that deal with other crimes and then other legal procedures. So what is murder now? If you try to understand, except in the cases hereafter excepted. What do you understand, man? There are certain exceptions attached to this section. So barring those, if you have to give a definition, exceptions alag, exception ke alawa, exceptions if you keep it aside, then what is murder is given firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly. In these clauses they have said what murder is. Now culpable homicide is murder, but when it is not murder, culpable homicide not amounting murder are the exceptions. Whatever exceptions we are giving, they are the culpable homicide not amounting to murder. So that means they remain as only culpable homicide. They are not murder. They have not become murder. Now 300 says, except those exceptions that are attached to this particular section. Now what is murder is, culpable homicide is murder according to clause 1, 2, 3, 4, like that they have given clauses up to 4. So what is clause 1? Clause 1 is, culpable homicide is murder. Under what condition? Secondly, if it is done with the intention of causing such bodily injury. Please carefully listen to the words which have been uttered. Such bodily injury as the offender knows to be likely to cause the death of the person to whom the harm is caused. That means these are similar. 299 1 and then 300. If you see, there are similarities. Now when it comes to thirdly, if it is done with the intention of causing bodily injury to any person, and the bodily injury intended to be inflicted is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. Please try to understand. If it is done with an intention of causing bodily injury, that means there is an intention to any person, and the bodily injury intended to be inflicted is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause nature. Any given circumstance, ordinary circumstances, that particular injury which he is intending to create, in any normal course, it is likely to cause death. It is sufficient, not likely. It is quite sufficient enough that for any ordinary person in any ordinary course, if that such a kind of a bodily injury is inflicted, that will result in the cause of the death. That is what we mean by thirdly. Now, when it comes to fourthly, if the person committing the act knows that it is so imminently dangerous. See, if a person is thrown from a 20-story building, so is there an imminent danger or not? It is 100% certain. There is no way that unless some miracle, some province interference, otherwise it is 100% sure that the person is going to die, isn't it? That is what we mean by imminently dangerous. Now, imminently dangerous, that it must in all probability. So, wording, see the wording, imminently dangerous, that it must in all probability, that means 100% certain. In all probability means certain, causes death or such bodily injury as is likely to cause death, and commits such act without any excuse for incurring the risk. Why is he taking that much risk? There is no excuse for that. So, it should there should not be any excuse for incurring that risk and causing the death or such injury of the aforesaid. Now, what we need to concentrate when we talk of 300 murder is, now this thirdly and fourthly, these are a little important. Now, if there is a, let us say, intention to cause bodily injury, now what kind of bodily injury that person, the accused, is aiming at, intending to do, intending to inflict on the person, in any normal course, if it is untreated and all, if you are not rushing to the hospital immediately for some help, and if you are just leaving him to his fate, it is in an ordinary course, it is definite that it will result in death only. So, that kind of a serious bodily injury somebody has to create. The accused must inflict on the body of the victim. That is thirdly. Now, when it comes to fourthly, if the person committing the act knows that it is so imminently dangerous, I have given you the example, 20-story building or some only one story, I mean there is from ground only, he is just falling on the ground, there is no probability, isn't it? It may not, we don't call that as imminent danger, isn't it? Imminent danger is one instant. There is no other time gap, instant. The danger is so obvious, isn't it? So, imminent danger, that it must in all probability, 100% guarantee or 100% certainty that if because of this act of inflicting the injury or inflicting the harm, it is going to result in the death of the person. 100%, that is in all probability cause death of such bodily injury as is likely to cause death and commit such an act without any excuse. So, that is about fourthly. So, I will just read one or two illustrations, then you will understand it better what I mean by secondly, thirdly and then fourthly. Now, the illustration A is, A shoots Z with an intention of killing him. So, he forms an intention, a desire that Z by somehow I have to kill. So, I want a sure death of Z. What I try to do, I don't carry any weapon or I don't try to hit him with boulder and all. Because boulder at the best, if I miss, he will only be injured. So, I want 100% sure death. So, what I try to do is take out a pistol and then I aim at his vital parts and then I shoot at Z. So, he will die. So, can he survive? Somebody trying to shoot point blank and that too aiming his vitals, there is no way that that person will survive, isn't it? Now, here A, we say that he commits murder. A commits murder. So, there is a strong intention. Now, A also has the knowledge. What is the knowledge A has got? What kind of knowledge A has got? This is a pistol, very dangerous weapon, and that too when there is not much distance between me and the victim. It is but sure that the other person will die, and that too I have loaded gun, and that too I am putting it at point blank, and that too I am aiming the vital organs. So, I have clear intention. and I accordingly execute my act, that is shooting at him, isn't it? Now, where is the element of culpable homicide there? So, this is straight away a case of a murder. So, we say that A commits murder. Now, the second example, illustration, please carefully listen to that. A, knowing that Z is laboring under such a disease that, so the health condition of Z, whom I wanted to kill or whom I want to create such a bodily injury. So, I know the Z's condition. It is in my knowledge, subjective knowledge, that I know there is some kind of a disease or some kind of a disease to him. So, A, knowing that Z is laboring under such a disease, that a blow is likely to cause his death. Normally, any simple blow to any ordinary person who otherwise maintains a good health, that may not result in the death of the person. But then, I am A, I want to kill Z, and I also know that specific knowledge about the person Z's health, I am very much aware. That means I know that there is a disease and he has got some enlarged spleen, and then if I am going to hit near the area of spleen, that will become vital for him because he has already some enlarged spleen, and with my single fist of a blow if I give, I am sure to kill this person. So, I have knowledge, this special knowledge about Z's health, I alone know. So, I take advantage of that. So, what do? So, I try to locate that spleen where it is. I have some anatomical knowledge. So, I try to spot that area on the body of Z, and accordingly in that area I try to hit, isn't it? So, what is the knowledge? I have got an intention. I know that if I give this kind of a fist blow to this man at this particular spot, it will result in his death. That means, as a person, I have a special knowledge about the person whom I want to kill. What is the special knowledge I have about him, the other person? That he is laboring under some disease, some ailment. What is that ailment? I know pretty well. I have been observing him very regularly. He goes to the doctor, and then his prescription also, it is in my knowledge. I know that this is, he takes some medicine for his enlarged spleen. I have this knowledge, complete thorough knowledge about the health condition of the Z. So, I try to take advantage. Same kind of a blow with a fist, if I give to other person who is otherwise a normal person, in place of Z, let us say I give similar kind of a blow to B, let us say. No, that may not affect the person B, because he is hale and healthy, he doesn't have any expansion of spleen and all. So, he is an ordinary person maintaining a good health. So, if I try to give, yes.
alumni plus faculty actually end group 11,000.
Somebody is on, somebody is cross talking. Who is that? Am I clear, or you are all opening and then somewhere else? Because these are law is such that you have to understand each word one by one, pay attention. Otherwise, it will be online classes, it will be absolutely very difficult for the speaker to make you understand. I hope I am making sense. I want somebody to respond. Yes, TK. Because law people will anyway, background law, they will understand. But then how about others? They are just keeping mum. I don't know whether you are able to follow or not able to follow. Any reaction, no reaction. I am afraid. But anyway.
Yes.
So, we have to understand the illustration, analyze the section thoroughly. Some explanations are there, some exceptions are there. All that we have to collectively analyze and understand the section. Now, the second example I said, I have a special knowledge about the person whom I am going to attack. So, I want to finish him off. So, for that, I have a special knowledge. No, I need not use so much pressure and then so much power I need not show on him, because he is already a person, ailing person, he has some disease. What is the disease? What is the knowledge I have got about his health? I know that he has got a spleen, his spleen is enlarged. Now, I know where exactly the spleen is located. So, I know that he is suffering. So, I with just holding the fist, I just try to kick him on that area, and I am very sure that he is going to die, because there is already expanded spleen. So, this particular knowledge is with me. So, I try to take advantage of that, and I try to do that, isn't it? Now, if the same kind of force, with the same kind of blow, if I give it to other person, that may not result in the death of the person. Ordinary course, it may not result in the death of the person at all. But then as a special person, with a special knowledge, dealing a special case, what is the special knowledge? Special knowledge is that the person is ailing. He is laboring under a disease. That is the special knowledge I have. And what is the special condition? This person is already under the severe condition. Now I know that at that particular spot, if I going to hit him, he is going to die. And the same thing may not happen if had his health been okay like. His health is not all that okay. He has got some suffering. So I take the advantage and then I try to give the blow, and then consequences also I am aware. That means I have got knowledge also. Now in that case, A is guilty of murder. This is what we need to understand. Otherwise, a small kick with a fist, closed fist, may not result in the death of the person at all. At the best, it may create some kind of an injury, light injury or some hurt, for which he may suffer little pain and all. That may not result in the death of the person at all. But then it is a special case, special health, special knowledge, isn't it? The special knowledge is I know that he is suffering or laboring under some kind of a disease. And number two is, if I kick him with only certain power, very, very small amount of power, then I am sure that he is going to be finished. So this kind of a thing is, if it is there, now we can say, with regard to the criminal liability of A, we can say A is guilty of murder. Now, what is the other scenario? The blow might not have been sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. That's what I am repeatedly saying. In any normal way, in any normal course, if such a kind of same kind of a blow is given to a normal person who is otherwise healthy, that might not have resulted in the death of the person. But this is a special situation, special case, and I have got the special knowledge. So hence we say that A is guilty of murder. Now, but the condition, if A not knowing that Z is laboring under any disease, let us say that particular special knowledge I don't have. I have absolutely no knowledge about Z's health, that he has got some disease or he has got an enlarged spleen and all. Suppose I am not aware, I am unaware, then what is it? Gives him such a blow as would not in the ordinary course of nature kill a person in a sound state of health. So, normal person, I think he is a normal person. I have no knowledge. I have no knowledge, prior knowledge. So, I deem him to be a very normal person, and only a small kick if I give. So, that may not result in the death of the person at all in normal course, in any ordinary course of time. So, nature, kill a person in a sound state of health. Here, A, although he may not intend to cause bodily injury, is not guilty of murder. This is what you need to understand. So, if we cannot attribute the criminal liability on A for guilty of murder. If he did not intend to cause death or such bodily offence as in the ordinary course of nature would cause death. So, this is what you need to, special knowledge and special condition, health condition, these are very important in this particular kind of an explanation. Now, A intentionally gives Z a sword, cut or club wound sufficient to cause death of a man in the ordinary course. So, any knife and sword which has got a very sharp edge, if anybody is cut with that, there is a sure death, isn't it? Now, Z also in the process as a consequence of this kind of a sword slit, he dies. Here A is guilty of murder. Definitely there is an intention, the consequences are known, the knowledge that if I attack with this sword, it is going to cut the person. All this I have. So definitely now we say that the culpability or guilty, the punishment is for the guilty of murder, although he may not have intended to cause Z's death. Now, A without any excuses fires a loaded cannon into the crowd of persons and then kills one of them. Now A is also guilty of murder. Why? Why A is guilty of murder? No, when a loaded gun is aimed at a crowd will consist of so many people, isn't it? If not one person, it may kill any other person because it's a loaded and it's a powerful weapon, and then it is a very strong, dangerous weapon. No, this knowledge is with him, and then only thing is he doesn't. I mean, without anything, I mean, he is. Any excuse, he doesn't have any, he is not a policeman, he is not a policeman to control the crowd and all. Without any excuse, he is loading his gun and he is trying to shoot at the crowd. Now A is guilty of murder. So in that case also, although he may not have had any premeditated design, so he doesn't plan, he need not, it need not be a cold-blooded murder and all, there is no premeditation, design and all, but still we can say that he is the culpability or the criminal liability as far as this person is concerned, we can say it is murder only. Now, there are exceptions, as I told you, exception 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. There are exceptions for this. Now, 5 such exceptions are there. Now, we will try to see those exceptions. Now, when culpable homicide is not murder, that means culpable homicide is going to remain as only culpable homicide. It is not murder. When that will happen? Culpable homicide is not murder if the offender, while deprived of the power of self-control by grave and sudden provocation, causes the death of the person who gave the provocation or causes the death of any other person by mistake or accident. See, so when do somebody lose self-control or balance? I am provocated. I am instigated, provocated, isn't it? So if somebody is under great provocation, sudden provocation, then I am going to lose my balance. So I lose my control, self-control, power of self-control I completely lose. I lose the balance. So I'll, on that provocation, if I kill people and then any other person by mistake, because I don't have any intention. Premeditation is not there. In that fit of anger, we say, in that provocation only I have done that. So that is an exception. In that case, we don't call it murder, but then rather we call that as a culpable homicide, not amounting to murder, is one exception. Now, there is another exception, second, which says that culpable homicide is not murder. That means what we have to understand, culpable homicide remained as culpable. It has not transformed itself into murder. That's what we need to understand. Or rather, we can say it is one kind of a definition for culpable homicide itself. Now, if the offender, in the exercise of good faith of right of private defense of person or property, exceeds the power of given to him by law and causes the death of the person against whom he is exercising such right of defense without premeditation and without any intention of doing more harm than is necessary for the purpose of such defense. Now, here the second exception says, whatever, if somebody is trying to attack me, as I told you, the person is given the right to defend, private defense. So, normally the defense for any civilian has to be given by the police. Now, there may be a situation, there is no time for you to call the police or approach the police station and then lodge a complaint. So, law never says that you should fold your hands and wait for police help. So, if it is inevitable, what law says is that you also can exercise your private defense. You are the best person to defend yourself, isn't it? So, law has given that power to us. So, it is called as right to private defense. Now, when you are trying to exercise this power, that is the right to private defense, if you have to exercise that power and there may be an excess of that, for example, if you are exceeding that kind of a power given to you by the law and still cause the death of the person, then against whom you are exercising that right, then that is also not murder. And there should be one thing, there should not be any intention. That is important. Without any intention of doing any more harm. You don't want to use more harm, but it so happened, you are trying to see, one person has got a stick, and then he is a very big log, let us say, he is trying to attack you. At that particular moment, you are only trying to slit the logs with an axe. You have only that kind of a weapon with you. Now he is going to, and if 2-3 beats, if he is going to hit on your head, you are 100% to die, because that is a vital organ. So what is the right of private defense you have? You have no other thing available in your vicinity. You are doing the job of slitting the log. You only have a axe with you. So you definitely try to attack the other person with an axe only. You will not apply brain, let me use only that much pressure, that much force, because when he is trying to attack me with let us say stick, let me also find out one stick and let me also try to attack. This kind of a balance will not be there with us, isn't it? So whatever is readily available, whatever weapon or whatever kind of a defense that is readily available with us, we try to exercise that. So in the process, if he is going to attack the person, say one is having an axe, the other one is having a let us say big log. So that with the big log, he has already hit you on the head, let us say, and you are completely bleeding, your head is bleeding. So you, if you don't further attack, what will happen? Another 2-3 blows you may receive, and ultimately you may die on the spot. So you don't want your death to happen. So what do? Though you don't have any stick at that moment, you only have an axe with you. So definitely, are you not going to attack with the axe? You are going to definitely attack with the axe. So you also try to hit him on the head in retaliation. So what will happen? Because this being a bigger weapon, dangerous weapon compared to a stick, that may result in the death of the other person, isn't it? So that means what? Though you are given a kind of a right to private defense, you are lawfully exceeding that power. That means what law says is, if he is attacking with a stick, you also similarly attack with a stick in proportionate. But then you don't have that much time at your disposal. He has come already and he has hit you on the head. You are already bleeding. Another 2-3 hits if he put on your head, you will definitely die. So you want to exercise your power of right to defense, right of private defense. So what do? You will not go in search for another log or another kind of a stick. What is readily available with you? The weapon, namely the axe. You are trying to attack him with the axe. But then axe being a little dangerous weapon compared to the stick. So similarly, even though you also try to mildly attack him, because since it is a sharp edged weapon, if you hit him, that resulted in his instantaneous death. So this only says, though right to private defense is given to you, you are trying to exceed that, still it cannot be called as the murder. You don't say that you have committed a murder. So this is only you are trying to exercise the right to private defense in excess of what the law has actually given you. There is no other option. That's what we mean to say. Now, I think at this point we'll stop and we'll leave the meeting, but there is some important